Hey, what's up guys? Hope you're enjoying your holiday season. My name is Spartacus, and welcome to our second entry on the Versus series. The series where we compare similar creatures and see which one is better. And today we have two of the hardest to acquire creatures in the game. I'm talking about the Shadowmane and the Fenrir. Two of the best mid-sized creatures in the game, both equipped with natural armor and great stats. But which one is better? That's what we're finding out today, guys. For the test, I will use only tamed Shadowmanes, since the Fenrir cannot be bred, unfortunately. We're gonna compare them in 5 categories: looks, speed, damage, tankiness, and the one that probably will take half of the video to analyze, special abilities. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about today. So buckle up, grab yourself a hot chocolate, a slice of panettone, and let's see who wins this battle. Starting off with creature design. First, the Shadowmane. You can clearly see how hard the devs worked on this creature. So much detail has been put in its fins and mane, and I really love the fact that the design is different for males and females. It really is one of the most beautiful creatures in the game, thanks to both its model and the fact that you can get them in every color you could want. Another really cool fact about the Shadowmane is that once its finishing bar is charged up, its face, tail, and front claws are covered in a purple-pink fire. It reminds me of Tai Long from Kung Fu Panda. But the cherry on top is the roar, which, as stated in a previous video that I highly recommend you watch, is one of the best in the game. Now let's talk about the Fenrir. It is similar to a direwolf, but much bigger, and with a much more savage model. It's really cool that it has a designed color region for its eyes. And speaking of eyes, all direwolves around the Fenrir will have glowing eyes. Unfortunately, its colors are predominated by shades of black, grey, white and brown. Its deep howl though, it's quite awesome, followed by an animation that pulls in cold air to form its frozen spikes. I don't know how someone can ride this guy without a saddle and not get impaled. This round goes to the Shadowmane, although the frozen fur armor animation and the spikes made this round closer than expected. Next up is speed. This time I set up a proper running track for them. Just like the last time, we're testing both speed and stamina. If we have a quick look at their stats, we can see that the Shadowmane has advantages in stamina and health, and the Fenrir in melee damage and weight. We expect the Shadowmane's stamina to last more. For this test, we're using level 1 creatures to actually see some difference in stamina usage. Fenrir managed to run the whole section in 14 seconds, using 270 points of stamina. The Shadowmane, however, took only 11 seconds, while using only 50 points of stamina. However, the Shadowmane has 2 ways to boost its speed. First, by 20% with the hydration buff, and second by 50% with its roar. The results are quite staggering. 8 seconds. This one is a landslide victory for the Shadowmane. Moving on to damage, we're gonna compare the DPS of two creatures, both with around 411% melee damage. In the Shadowmane test, we can see that the DPS fluctuates between 3 values, based on how many bites you get, which is the attack used when moving. So we're choosing the middle one, 373 DPS. Thanks to its considerably higher base attack, the Fenrir does a little bit better, 412 DPS. But both the Shadowmane and the Fenrir benefit from a bunch of attack bonuses. First, the Shadowmane benefits from the hydration buff. Mate boost, pack mate, that's when a mate boosted male Shadowmane roars, and the pack leader for the highest level Shadowmane in the group. I'm not gonna display all percentages here, but if we apply all these bonuses to our Shadowmane, its DPS will be 1285. Yeah, that's quite a lot of damage boost. The Fenrir, on the other hand, benefits from a pack boost based on the number of members in the pack. A pack of 2 Fenrirs will benefit from a 5% boost, 3 Fenrirs 10%, etc. The boost is capped at 20% in a pack with 5 Fenrirs. Any additional Fenrir will receive the buff but will not increase it. With a maxed out pack boost and a mate, the Fenrir deals 657 DPS, around half of what the Shadowmane does. I'll give 1 point to both in this round, since the Fenrir is a bit better in the solo test. However, the Shadowmane has the potential to do much more damage, especially considering it can be bred. Up next, Tankiness. This is the thing that inspired me to do this comparison. Both the Shadowmane and the Fenrir come with natural armor, requiring no saddle to ride. The armor's rating is capped at 80 for both of them, but they do work a bit differently. For the Shadowmane, the natural armor depends on the level of the Shadowmane. When it's tamed or born, the higher the level, the better the armor will be. Fenrir's Frozen Fur starts at a rating of 10, regardless of level. Once Fenrir uses the Frigid Armor ability, he gets covered in spikes of ice, boosting the Frozen Fur's value to 80. While Fenrir keeps this mode active, it will slowly consume its stamina, so you cannot keep it active indefinitely. From here, things get pretty wild. The Shadowmane is equipped with the Thornmail Poison passive. Each time the Shadowmane is attacked, the attacker's damage will be reduced. This effect can be stacked up to 5 times, resulting in around 50% damage reduction. The second effect of the debuff is applying a poison to the attacker that deals 10 damage per second. The Fenrir's Frigid Armor, on the other hand, reflects around 25% of the damage back to the attacker, and grants Fenrir freezing immunity. This is much more powerful than the damage over time dealt by the Shadowmane, but the damage reduction and the extra 75 base health points give the Shadowmane a slight edge, in my opinion. And last, special abilities. Let's start with the Fenrir. We already talked about the Frozen Fur and Frigid Armor, but there is one more thing we have to mention. When Frigid Armor is activated, it will damage and freeze all enemies around him. Other abilities include the Ice Bite, which deals more damage than the regular bite and halves the movement speed of the target, the ability to store perishable items in its inventory with a spoil timer equivalent to a refrigerator, allowing you to store things that cannot be normally stored in a refrigerator, like wyvern milk, which pairs really well with its impressive weight stat, and the Direwolf synergy, making all allied direwolves around him to take 12.5% less damage and deal 25% more, doubling down on the direwolf's really good DPS capabilities. Switching to the Shadowmane now, we have the Thornmail Poison, which we've already seen, the Warp Strike, a teleport strike that can be used on up to 7 different targets at once, dealing a little bit of damage and stunning the targets, dismounting any rider in the process. The Charge Jump ability, that lets the Shadowmane traverse terrain with ease, since it takes no fall damage when the Charge Jump is used. Bear in mind that if you use the regular jump to, let's say, jump off a cliff, you will take some fall damage. Next, we have the Invisibility, with a male Shadowmane being able to cloak itself and the rider, but with a mate-boosted female being able to turn every allied creature in its close proximity invisible. While invisible, Shadowmanes can turn on the spot. The male instead, once mate-boosted, comes with a Roar ability that increases the movement speed by 50% and the recovering speed of stamina and torpidity by 50 points per second of all nearby allied survivors and creatures. Additionally, allied Shadowmanes gain the Packmate buff for 45 seconds, and the Thornmail poison damage is doubled. Next is the combo bar that the Shadowmane fills after several successful attacks. Once fully charged, the Shadowmane is able to deliver a finishing strike, dealing 4 times the regular damage. If the attack lands a killing blow, the bar will be instantaneously refilled, allowing the attack to be performed again. Lastly, I'm going to include the Shadowmane amphibious nature here, being a great swimmer with no oxygen bar. This is further emphasized by the hydration buff that increases melee damage, health regen, and movement speed once the Shadowmane touches water. I think it's quite clear who won this round too. Wow, that was quite an easy win for the Shadowmane. But what can you expect from a creature that is great for PvP, caving, killing bosses, and traveling? Either the Shadowmane is still OP, or the Fenrir is a bit underpowered, especially for what you have to go through to get him. Or maybe a bit of both. What do you think? Is the Fenrir in need of a buff? And what's your opinion on the Fenrir? I personally like it, especially the Direwolf synergy, but I do think it needs a bit of a buff. First, unridden Fenrirs should be able to activate Frigid Armor on their own when they're fighting, in my opinion. And then maybe the Direwolf's Howl should be applied to them too, or at least allow us to breed them. These are just some ideas that I came up with on the spot, so maybe they're not the best. Let me know in the comments if you have any other suggestion for the Fenrir, and if you would like the series to continue. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That's it for this one, guys. My name is Spartacus, and I'll see you in the next one. Maybe with some brand new SOTF, who knows. Ciao. Thanks to its considerably